Hello everyone, another segment of clock topic. In the previous video, we spoke about how to convert time into angle. Now can we do it the other way? So for example, if I give you certain angle between the needles, let's say for example if I say what will be the exact time when the minute and the hour hand are overlapping or making an angle of 0 degree between 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now you will start guessing the answer. It would be somewhere close to 4 hours, 22, 23 minutes and so. Now please understand, we can't assume or we can't guess the answer here. It has to be so precise because the options will be close to the value of seconds. So we have to be highly accurate in getting these answers. So how can we do that? I repeat, we have to convert the angle into time this time. It is exactly opposite to what we did in our previous video on clocks. So guys, if you like this video, I would certainly request you to press on the like button, and if you have not subscribed to the channel so far, please do subscribe so that we can reach to you every time we upload a video on the channel. Thank you.
So let me take you through this particular topic. Now there are some standard questions that we'll be getting from clocks, particularly as I said, when angle would be given and we have to calculate time, out of which most prominent are 0 degrees, that is when the needles are actually overlapping each other. So when the needles overlap, we say that they are in a 0 degree frame. Second, 90 degree. Now all of you understand what is 90 degree. This is how a 90 degree looks like. When the minute and the hour hand are at 90 degree, we talk about that particular time frame. Now 180 degree. 180 degree is staying in the opposite direction. So one of the needle is in north, the other one is facing south. That's how 180 degree is calculated. The next one, and a very important one, that's a straight line. Now you may think that we have already catered to straight line concepts. That is, when they are in 0 degree frame, then why are we doing it separately? Because straight line comprises of both the concepts, that is 0 degree and also 180 degree. Because 0 degree is straight line in the same direction, whereas 180 degree is straight line but in opposite direction. So you can see in a 0 degree situation, the needles are facing in the same direction, but they are overlapping. In the 180 degree situation, they are still straight line, but are facing opposite to each other. And then the last one, that is miscellaneous, which means we'll be talking about some of the angles, like for example, 45 degrees, 30 degrees, 20 degrees, or any other number except 0, 90 and 180. So we'll take all these cases one by one. So here is one question based on that. At what time between 5 and 6 the needles will form an angle of 0 degree? Now you can see how close the options are. So therefore we cannot do a guesswork here. We have to be absolutely sure in finding the answer. So how does a 0 degree look like? You can have a look at the diagram on the left hand side, which shows you how does the needles overlap between 5 and 6. So we have to find out the exact time. Now what I'll do, I'll solve this question in both the ways. One, the conventional method, and the other one with the help of a shortcut that we have already discussed in our previous video of clock. That is the relative speed method. But to develop the speed, or to develop the concept, in fact, I will discuss the conventional method first of all. So let's see how we can solve it with the conventional method. Now, let's assume that this is how a 5 o'clock looks like. Okay. Now I can see that this angle is 150 degrees. Those who do not know how did I calculated this 150 degrees, I would again recommend you to watch the previous part of clock. Now this is 150 degrees. For these two needles to overlap, what will happen in some t time, this minute hand will travel from here to a certain point. Let's see, somewhere here. And similarly, this R hand will travel from here to here, which means your overlapping will happen somewhere here. I hope this is clear. That's how it is looking in the diagram itself. So my minute hand will travel from this position to this position, and my R hand will travel from this position to obviously the same position, because they need to overlap with each other. And I'm assuming this is happening in t time. Now this t is minutes. I'm assuming in t minutes this is going to happen. So let's see what happens. In t minutes, minute hand will travel 6t degrees. Why? Because every minute it travels 6 degrees. Whereas in the same time, in t minutes, my R hand will travel half t degrees, because the speed of R hand is half a degree per minute. Now let's establish a quick relationship between these variables and the constant that I know. My minute hand travels 150 degrees plus, can you understand this? Minute hand has to travel this 150 degree plus this t by 2 degree to achieve a 60 degrees. I hope this is clear to all. You can check that the complete travel of minute hand is 150 degrees, which was the initial angle between the hour hand and the minute hand, plus t by 2 degrees, and which is automatically equal to 60 degrees. So when I solve this, I will get 6t minus t by 2, and that will be equal to 150. This 6t minus t by 2 will give me nothing but 11 by 2t is equal to 150 degrees, and t comes out to be 300 by 11. Now remember, this is 300 by 11 minutes. So what will be my answer? Definitely it will be 5 hours and then few minutes. What are those minutes? 300 by 11. When I divide it, 11 twos are 22, remainder is 8, 80, 11 sevens are 77, remainder is 3. So I'll be left with 3 by 11 minutes. But I want my answer to be precise till the seconds value, and therefore I have to multiply it with 60, which gives me 180 by 11. And again, when I solve it further, 11 ones are 11, then 7 0, 11 6 are 66. So that's my answer to the question. 5 hours, 27 minutes and 16 seconds. And I can even go to the further calculation, but that's not required. 5 hours, 27 minutes and 16 seconds will be sufficient for me to get the answer. So this is how we solve the question in a conventional manner. No matter how you quickly solve this, you will still be taking some time and forming an equation to solve it. Now, can we do it without pen and paper, or in fact with some trick? Let's try and understand that. In the earlier video, I told you when we apply the concept of relative speed, what we usually do, we keep the R hand as a freezed needle. We don't move the R hand. We only move the minute hand with relative speed. That's how we do this. So let's try and do the same way. So at 5 o'clock, this is how my positions was. And what was the angle? It was 150 degrees. Now the question is, when will they have a 0 degree between them? And since I have to freeze my R hand, therefore R hand will remain here only. It will not move further. Now for the minute hand to move and meet the R hand, it has to travel 150 degrees. At what speed? At the relative speed, which is nothing but 5.5 degree per minute. So I know the formula of speed is equal to distance upon time. Now since here I'm calculating time and my distance is 150 degrees and my speed is 5.5 degree per minute, upon calculation I'll end up getting the same value, which is 300 by 11, and that is going to give me my answer, which is 5 hours 27 minutes. As you can see, I mean, this is what my equation was. it was 300 by 11. That's what I have achieved over here as well. My value again here is 300 by 11. So definitely I'm going to get my answer, which will be 5 hours, 27 minutes and 16 seconds. I repeat this concept quickly. So what I did, I freezed my hour hand and I moved my minute hand with the relative speed. So when my hour hand gets freezed, the travel distance for minute hand would remain 150 degree. So to travel 150 degree with 5.5 degree per minute, I can use the formula, which is distance divided by speed, and I'll end up getting my numerical value, which is 300 upon 11. Let's take another question and we'll apply this logic over there. So the question is, at what time between 2 and 3 the needles will form an angle of 180 degree. Now in the diagram you can see, this is how it is. But as I said, this time we are not going to use the conventional method. We will only use the relative speed method, which means I have to freeze my hour hand. So hour hand will not travel. I have to travel the minute hand with 5.5 degrees per minute. Now let's see how I do this. So between 2 and 3, so I have to start this question from here. That is from 2 o'clock, because that's my closest angle. So what is the closest angle? This is 60 degrees. Now if I have to travel and cover an angle of 180 degree between the needles, because I'm freezing this needle, my minute hand actually should come over here. So it has to travel all the way from here to here, which means it will travel the 60 degree. And then how much it has to travel? After 60, it has to travel another 180 degree. So what is the total travel? 60 plus 180 degree. That is total travel distance is 240 degrees. Again, by using the same formula, time is equal to distance divided by speed, which is speed of the relative positioning. So when I solve this, I end up getting 480 upon 11 minutes. Now what I have to do, I have to just convert it. So my answer would be 2 hours. 480 by 11 will give me 4. 11 fours are 44. 40 40. 11 threes are 33, which means my answer cannot be A. My answer cannot be D. Now what is left? When I do 11 threes are 33, I'll be left with 7 by 11 minutes. To convert it into seconds, I have to multiply by 60, which gives me 420 upon 11, which will give me 11 threes are 33 and 90, which means 11 eights are 88. And that's my answer to the question. That is 2 hours, 43 minutes and 38 seconds is the time at which minute and the hour hand will be absolutely 180 degree opposite to each other. I hope this is much better now. Let's take another question. Or before taking a question, I would rather take few more such instances which are asked as direct questions in the competitive exams. Let's see what are they. So what happens here? There are 8 questions which we usually get, and those questions are in the form of a table on your screen now. Now I'm going to read the questions and then we'll solve them further. Let's see what does that mean. So my first question here says, what is the count, or in how many such instances in 12 hours span it happens that the needles form 0 degree? My next question is, in 12 hours how many times the needles are at 90 degree? In 12 hours how many times the needles are at 180 degree? And in 12 hours how many times the needles are in a straight line position? These are my 4 questions. Now my fifth question is, in a day or in a span of 24 hours, how many times the needles form 0 degree, which is going to be my question number 1. In a day, how many times they form 90 degree? In a day, how many times they form 180 degree? And in a day, how many times are they in straight line? And I've kept a column for remarks. If I have something to explain, I'll put it here. So let's start with my first question, which is 12 hours and 0 degrees. Now I'm going to fill up these values quickly and then I'll explain you the details. So in 12 hours, 0 degree happens 11 times. And therefore in 24 hours, it is going to happen 22 times, which is double. In 12 hours, 90 degree happens 22 times. And therefore in 24 hours, it will be 44 times. In 12 hours, 180 degree happens 11 times. And therefore in 24 hours, it is 44 times. Now straight line, as we discussed earlier, straight line is nothing but a combination of 0 degree and 180 degree, and therefore my answer for the straight lines can be a combination of 0 and 180, which is 22. Similarly 0 and 180, which is, or in fact I filled up a wrong number here because 11 twos are anyways 22, so we can't have a 44 here. So over here it comes as 44. Now let me explain you how do I get these values. Let's understand the first case, that is 0 degree. So if you will use your analog clock and check that how many times the needles are overlapping, you will find that it is happening every hour. So every hour it is happening once. So in an hour, at one instance, they are overlapping each other. But then you should think that if it is happening every hour, then in 12 hours my value should be 12. Then why it is 11 instead of 12? And for that, you need to check what is happening between 11 to 1. So if you'll check between 11 to 1, the only time they will coincide will be at 12 o'clock. Ideally, between 11 to 1, they should coincide twice because it's a span of 2 hours. But actually, it is happening only at 12 o'clock. You can check this by rotating the needles of your clock. Let's talk about 90 degrees now. So again, if you check between two consecutive hours, 90 degree happens twice. I repeat, it happens twice, which means in 12 hours, it should be 12 multiplied by 2 and therefore I should get 24. But it is not 24, it is 22. Let me tell you what are the exceptions. So if you check between 2 to 4, that is between these 2 hours, ideally between 2 hours it should have happened 4 times because it is happening twice every hour. But it will happen only 3 times. So between 2 to 4, it will happen only 3 times. Similarly, between 8 to 10, that is again between 2 hours, it should have happened 4 times, but it happens only 3 times. And therefore, there is one reduction over here and one reduction over here. So instead of 24, it gives me 22. And the same happens in the other 12 hours as well, and therefore the count becomes 44. Let's take 180 degree now. Again, between every consecutive hour, it should have happened once. If you can check, the needles are in a straight line in the opposite direction, making an angle of 180 degree. But again, the value is not 12, it is 11. Why? Because if you will check between 5 to 7, the only time when they are making an angle of 180 degree is at 6 o'clock. And therefore it is 11 and not 12. And hence it is 22 over here instead of 24. So that makes my data as 11, 22, 22, 44, 11 and 22. And this is quite simple because this was not happening 2 times. It is happening only at 12 and at 6. And therefore we are getting 22 and 44 for 12 and 24 hours respectively. You can check these values once again, as I said, by rotating the needles, and you will get more clarity over it. I hope this video clarifies most of your doubts on clock while we are figuring out time based on the angle given to us. In few more videos based on clock, we will talk about the error clocks or the question based on errors or the questions which talks about the losing and gaining of time.
If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to never miss a video from upGrad.